So today I wanted to make a video about how to become a millionaire, other than, I guess, some of the ways that I may talk about. I had one of my friends tell me that, a lot of my videos are in reference to someone that's, or reference to people that start off doing well, coming out of high school, go to college, start off getting a really good career. And that's really not a true statement. My videos that I make, you can start off, you can have a bad start, you can have a good start, but it's a matter of making up your mind and following the 5 rules of working, retraining, saving, living below your means, and also earning passive income. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use an example of someone that starts off slow. And I'm even going to go to an example of someone that goes to, example I'm mainly going to use is someone that goes to prison, let's say at 19 years old, they come out at 24, and how can that person become a millionaire? The first thing that I would do if coming out of prison at 24 years old is I would not go back to the environment that I came from. That environment obviously was an environment that I wasn't doing the right things. So I would want to make sure that I change that environment, make sure there's nothing that could suck me back into that environment, not being around people that can get me back into that environment, because I would want to make a change in my life. And if you don't want to make a change in your life, it's just going to be really hard to become a millionaire as going over the things I talk about. So not living in my environment, and then the first thing that I would do, the second thing that I would do is I would find a company or a recruiting school for trucking that could get me into the trucking industry and get me trained and get me licensed as fast as I possibly can. That's the second thing that I would do. The third thing after that, I would start off with the trucking company, knowing that it's an entry-level position, knowing that I may have to start at 30 cents a mile. I would just have to accept that. I wouldn't fight that. It'll be just what I would have to do. So let's say I got my trucking license. I started in my trucking company, and at a minimum, I'm going to do at least 600 miles a day at 30 cents a mile. And if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. I want to make sure that I cover everything and that I put out all the information that I was looking to put out for you. So at 30 cents a mile, and if I'm able to go 60 miles per hour on average, I'm going to make about $30 an hour. And $30 an hour, I'm going to make $100 a day. And I'm going to drive at least 6 days a week. And I know for the trucking industry, that's about the standard that you can drive. Then you have to take a day off. So I'm going to drive at least 6 days a week. I'm 600 miles a day, making $180 a day, which is $1,080 a week, which would be $56,000 a year. So that's what I would do. And I would do that for the first 6 months to a year, which because I'm a new driver, I understand that I have to start off slow. I have to start off on the totem pole, but those are things that I would just have to accept. And that's covering rule number 1 that I talked about is work. And then the fourth rule, which would be a big part of this major change that I would have made to my life, is that the fourth rule is keeping your costs low. Because I just got out of prison and I didn't go back home, I wouldn't hardly ever go back home while I'm on the road. I would make a commitment that I would probably go home maybe once a month for that. If I drive from Monday to Saturday, that Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday, and then I get up and leave Monday morning. And that's just to see friends and family. I would accommodate myself with all the things that I need in a truck. I would have cable. I would have a microwave, a refrigerator. I have a cell phone. I have everything that I would need to be comfortable, because this comfort is going to be my home. I wouldn't own a home. I wouldn't have a car. I would eliminate all those expenses that most people have to have in life to be able to live, because I'll be living in my truck. I wouldn't need none of that. So, and also what I would do is, so I drive Monday through Saturday. I'm knowing that maybe once a month I stop and visit home. All those other 3 days, I'm going to stop and do sightseeing. So on Saturday, let's say if I get off the road at 6 p.m., I want to be somewhere that I want to sightsee, whether it's national parks, whether I want to go see the city of Chicago, the city of LA, the city of Miami, Raleigh, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia. Just, within this time frame, I would, and my plan would be initially would be 5 years. So I would try to see every major sightseeing, parks, cities, all the things that I would have wanted to do and dreaming about while I was in prison the last 5 years. I would want to see all these things. So I'm keeping my costs extremely, extremely low. And I estimated by doing some sightseeing, just mainly having to buy clothes and eating, I think I'm living off about $300 a week. So at $300 a week for a whole year, that's $15,600. Remember, I'm making $56,000 a year off of 30 cents a mile, for my first year. So that's, I believe I did the calculation, that's about $48,000 a year that I would be saving. And remember, I'm having all the comforts of home. And basically what I would be doing, if I did 5 years in prison, I would just extend that to 5 more years. And so I would be obviously living a lot better than I was in prison. I would have my freedom. I would be able to sightsee, but I would be keeping my costs low while making money at about $48,000 a year. So knowing what I know about the trucking industry, after about 6 months to a year, now that I have some experience, I go to my company, tell them I need a raise, or I move to another trucking company where I know you can make about 50 cents a mile. So at 50 cents a mile, I'm going to stick to my same plan. I'm going to live the way I'm living. I'm not going to visit home very much. I'm going to do my sightseeing. So at 50 cents a mile, driving 600 miles a day, that's now I'm up from $180 a day, I'm up to $300 a day, which is $1,800 in a week. And now that's $93,600 a year. Remember, I wouldn't increase my living expense. My living expense is down to about $78,000 a year. I mean, I know some of this may seem rough, but this is exactly what I did when I was in the military. Me and my wife both worked at the time. We were both PFCs. I had a neighbor across from me, which I said this in other videos. I had a neighbor across from me who was also a PFC. He was married and he had a child. Me and my wife was married. We had a child. I said, hey, we're going to live the same way the PFC across the hall that only has one income. We're going to live the same way that he's living. He's living pretty good. He's living in the same apartment building that we're in. He's driving a car as we are. So, but we're going to be able to save one of our full checks while he's probably not able to do that. So that's the sacrifice that you have to make. So after 2 years of driving, the first year at 30 cents a mile, the second year at 50 cents a mile, we're now up to saving $118,400 and living off of $15,600 a month. And while I'm doing all this, because I'm following the first rule and the fourth rule, I got my standards really low, and I'm working hard. The next thing I would do is I would start focusing on rule number 2, which is retraining. I would watch videos and I would read books. I read videos and I read books over the trucking industry, so I know all this information is out there. And I would figure out the trucking game and what the trucking game is about. And I would want to see what level am I comfortable with within the trucking industry. I know that now after 2 years, I got $118,400 saved up. Now I want to decide, do I want to go out and buy my own truck? Do I want to look into getting my own authority? Well, buy my own truck driving underneath somebody else's authority. Do I want to get my own truck? Do I want to get my own authority, get my own loads and be my only trucker? Or and then after that, do I want to have my own authority, have truckers driving underneath me as company owned drivers, as lease drivers, or as independent truckers driving under my authority? So those are about complete the trucking industry, but it's going to depend on what you're comfortable with, what it is that you want to do, in the trucking industry, and even if you want to stay in the trucking industry. And then the second thing I would do as far as I'm re-educating or retraining myself, I will have the Making of American Capitalist with me, which is the book based on Warren Buffett. I will also have the Intelligent Investor with me, and I will have the Security Analysis with me. And with those 3 books, based on my own knowledge and based on my own experience, those books would be what I would need to launch me with a strong understanding of the stock market, how to purchase companies, in the stock market, the things that I'm looking for from balance sheet, income statement, all the things that you really need to know about learning to invest in companies. If you can learn, mainly the security analysis and intelligent investor, you will learn how to be profitable in the stock market. So that's the second thing in education that I would do. I would also, even though I'm not into real estate, I would also have some real estate books, whether commercial and residential real estate, to see if that's an industry that I would want to enter into. So I would be covering my retraining. So now I've already covered. I'm working. I'm re-educating myself and learning and how to make passive income, which is the fifth one. I'm saving, and I'm having cost below my means. So you're actually covering all four areas of what it is you need to do to become a millionaire, how I became a millionaire. And so I know. So after I was doing all that of educating, I know my next step after 2 years, I got 118,000. I know the first thing that I would do, I would go buy my own truck. I would drive under somebody else's authority while I'm still learning the trucking game. And I know, so if I buy a truck for about $40,000, you can get a decent used truck, especially in the good trucking market, as prices are starting to fall now. You get a good used truck around $40,000. That's going to take me down from $118,000 to $78,000. But I believe from listening to other truckers and in my reading, I believe I can make about $150,000 a year off of driving my own truck underneath somebody else's authority. Even though I would have to pay for my own insurance, my own fuel, my own plates, I would have to pay for all my own repairs, and I would have to pay them, for the use of their authority. They'd be getting me my loads. So I have to, but I know I could still probably make a minimum of $150,000 by still using my same rules of driving at least 6 days a week, at least 600 miles a day. So now I'm making $150,000 a year, and at $150,000, so if I do this for 5 years, still living with the expense of $15,600, I know after 5 years I'll have $482,400 a year. So now with your $482,000, after 5 years, you got to make the decision. Say, well, do I keep driving, making between $150,000, $200,000 a year? So if you make $150,000, if you do that for another 5 years, you're going to have $650,000 to combine that with your $482,000. Now you're a millionaire. So you've been driving for 8 years. You're not a millionaire. You can go that route, but with $482,000, you have a lot of other options. Of course, you would already be making money in the stock market. You have to ask yourself, do you really want to go all in on this trucking? Some of the things we talked about buying your own trucks, putting drivers in them, authority. But if that's not what you like, you may want to get into real estate. You may want to decide, as you know, I'm a Dairy Queen franchisee. I was working today. I have on my uniform. For Dairy Queen, you got to have $1 million in assets and at least $400,000 cash. You're sitting on $482,000. I don't know if that's something that you want to into, but now with $482,000, I wouldn't consider you, well off, but I consider that you can make a lot of choices and you can make some decisions. A lot of those things is going to be what's comfortable for you, but I hope this video does put to rest that you don't have to go and get a really good education to make a whole lot of money. You could be down on your luck, and all you got to do is decide that you want to change your mind, that you want better in life, and that you want to be a millionaire. And just with a simple plan like this, and there's a lot of other ways, but you do have to do at least the 5 things. You have to work, you have to retrain or get more educated so that you can make more money, off of your labor, even though labor is the least desirable and least profitable. You want to save, you want to live below your means, and you want to learn how to make passive income. So I believe I laid out here how in 8 years you can become a millionaire in a trucking industry, which now allow yourself off $1 million to decide How are you going to make more passive income? And now you should be at economic freedom.